anybody that has a grain of intelligence should say, well, wow, if all these people hate this one guy and they hate these ideals that are fundamentally good, there must be a problem, a propaganda ideological problem that's been going on 20, 30, 40 years that has kind of entrained us or warped us to believe something that's not true. I mean, it's the biggest example of gaslighting that you've ever seen, and there's a whole country buying into it. I mean, sometimes I kind of look around and I'm like, is this World War II? Am I in Nazi Germany? Because that's really what's at stake here.
Hey friends, Sean from SGT Report and SGTReport.tv here. Hey, before we begin this interview, just a quick word from this interview sponsor. Guys, get the same VPN I use every day to browse anonymously. A new study found websites shared over 100 trillion pieces of personal data last year. That's data taken about users of various websites that are then used for advertising purposes. I don't like being spied on by advertisers or anybody else, which is why I use Virtual Shield. Virtual Shield is the VPN that was built with privacy in mind from the ground up. When you use Virtual Shield VPN service, your traffic is routed through their secure and encrypted servers, which means not only do you browse privately, it also means that any restrictions or censorship blocks on your internet are bypassed. And you can try Virtual Shield right now, completely free for 30 days. Virtual Shield continues to offer its loyal customers a whopping 50% off all plans for life. If you want to browse the internet anonymously and securely like I do, please visit virtualshield.com or click the link directly below this video. Hey friends, thank you so very much for tuning in. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for finding us at sgtreport.tv, sgtreport.com. Maybe you're watching on BitChute. You might be over on Odyssey or Rumble, but you're probably not on YouTube since they purged us. By the way, that lawsuit today, what a train wreck. They capped the Zoom hearing to 100 people despite thousands of people trying to get on. I couldn't even get in, and I'm one of the plaintiffs. We'll bring you up to speed on that in the coming days, guys. I am really glad to have on the line right now Dr. Cordie Williams, a.k.a. the Megaphone Marine. He's the founder of 1776 Forever Free and the Freedom Tour USA. He's a chiropractor, like I said, a Marine, and a fed-up patriot. Dr. Cordie, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Sean. It's an honor. Really appreciate it.
The honor's all mine. Thanks to Julie, somebody on your team there, for making the introduction. I'm just glad to get somebody on who can speak truth for us as we look. I've been watching CNN. I've been watching Fox News, getting a little bit more truthiness over at Fox News, but CNN, MSNBC, the mainstream media, they keep telling people that Biden is 10 points ahead in some states. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Can you please tell us what you're seeing? You just completed a 5-city, 5-state tour, boots on the ground. There's no way Biden can win this thing, is there?
Well, I mean, my kid's 4th birthday party with Lightning McQueen there had more people there than at any of Sleepy Joe's rallies combined. So I don't think we have to worry about people wanting to walk into socialism just yet, or a total lockdown, or more people defecating and urinating on the streets. I hope not, because if that's the case, if San Francisco is an example of our new reality, then it sounds like we all need to move somewhere else other than here, maybe China, as Trumpy would say. I hope that's not reality. It's really scary for sure. I can tell you on, boots on the ground at all our events, we had between 1,500 and 3,500 people at every event we did. Trump's a stud. He's a leader. All these rallies, as well as I do, 35,000, 45,000 plus. I'm talking to some of my friends who are on the inside, the people that are really in the know. These rallies are huge. He was a rock star in 2016. These rallies now are seeing bigger numbers. They're getting more people, percentages of 30, 40, 50% are people that walked over from the left and were Hillary voters in 2016. 36% African-American vote. It was 9% in 2016. So, you look at the numbers, you look at the data outside of the fake news, people like Robert C. Caney of Trafalgar. There, I finally said it right. I've only said it about 90 times, Sean. That's the first time I've gotten it right. But Trafalgar, and then there's one more group they actually predicted he would win in 2016. So I think those are really the only true polls that you can actually follow.
Cordie, I don't know if you can see my screen right now, but I'm playing a video that I believe was produced by Julian Rum, and posted on Twitter by James Woods. And he wrote, "You will never in your lifetime see an outpouring of love like this. This awe-inspiring devotion for Donald Trump is also for an America that the Democrats want to burn to the ground. Well, American patriots are sick of it, and on Tuesday, we take America back." What are your thoughts on that statement? Because I have a few of my own.
Well, I find myself, as a former Marine, I'm a guy that, man, when I think about the bodies at Arlington and I think about the names on the Vietnam Memorial, I get choked up. And when you said that statement, Sean, that's the first thing I thought about, because you're exactly right. This isn't a fight for red or blue. It's not a fight for Sleepy Joe or Trump. This is a fight for our kids. It's a fight for us to have those patriotic values, for our kids to know what it's like to go to a baseball game without a facial condom on. That's really what we're fighting for. I mean, I'm a lock strong 100% Donald Trump guy, 100% I am. But what our viewers and what people need to understand out there is we're fighting for something bigger than Donald Trump right now. We're fighting for our identity as a country. And what we were founded on in 1776. And I think anybody that would vote for a man that has had 47 years in office, has done absolutely nothing, is riddled with controversy, and everybody he's around that he supports is even more demonic, satanic, nasty, and polluted than he is. And that's who we're voting into office. And I don't mean from a moral standpoint, but I mean, what have they done for the country? Or have they done anything? And in fact, if you look at it, they've actually sold the country to everybody that they could possibly sell out the country to.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting to hear people like you use that terminology. I've been using it for several years on YouTube, in my videos, in my reports, in my interviews, saying that, hey, we're in a spiritual war. And I don't think it's ever been more obvious. And now I'm seeing really mainstream people, I mean, you're a doctor, I'm seeing people use that same language, identifying the fact that the people who are opposed to this country and the man who might actually be sitting in the White House if Donald Trump is defeated is aligned with some very, very dark powers. Look, he also appears to be in the pocket of China. So, I mean, what are we going to get? The mainstream media wants him in, the Democrats want him in, the big tech companies want him in, and evidently the intelligence agencies want him in. What does that say about the future of our nation?
Well, I think, anybody that has a grain of intelligence should say, well, wow, if all these people hate this one guy and they hate these ideals that are fundamentally good, there must be a problem, a propaganda ideological problem that's been going on 20, 30, 40 years that has kind of entrained us or warped us to believe something that's not true. I mean, it's the biggest example of gaslighting that you've ever seen, and there's a whole country buying into it. I mean, sometimes I kind of look around and I'm like, is this World War II? Am I in Nazi Germany? Because that's really what's at stake here. I mean, there are millions, that 50% that voted for, that corrupt, nasty, satanic Hillary Clinton. There's 50% of this country that actually voted for that woman, even after the Benghazis, after the 33,000 emails that were acid washed, deleted. They in good conscience still said, this is somebody that I want to be my next president. And so you look at that and you think about that, the only thing that makes any sense is that these people have bought and sold the lies of the fake news. And thank God Donald Trump in 2015 actually brought these forces of evil that were silent and kind of doing things under the radar. Now they're just blatantly overt because they don't care. They don't care, and they control everything. So why should they? Because you've got federal judges. Soros is pumping $1.1 billion into these local municipalities, local elections, city councils. And that's why 1776 Forever Free, our whole mission is not just to educate. There's a lot of great groups out there educating. I'm not here to throw anybody out of the bus, but the time is now for people to take action. We need soccer moms, entrepreneurs, people to get in local office and get off their ass and start doing something to run for government. And if you say, oh, I can't, or I don't know how, well, then watch your country go into socialism and then the only recourse you're going to have is to pick up your Glock or your AR-15. Well, your AR-15, as Sleepy Joe says.
Well, I replied to that James Woods tweet by saying, not one more inch. We will not give one more inch to Marxists and traitors. And Cordie, my fear is that if they steal this thing somehow for Biden, yeah, we're not going to give one more inch, but they're going to take a mile. They're going to stack the courts, and they are going to destroy this nation. What do you think? We're having this conversation on Monday. The election is tomorrow. We're going to know, theoretically, by tomorrow night or Wednesday, who the president is. But they keep telling us that might not be the case. They might have to count votes for 2 weeks until they can engineer a win for Biden. What are your thoughts on all of this? I mean, as red-blooded patriots, how are we to process this if Trump doesn't win in the landslide, which I fully expect him to win?
Well, first of all, I'm a peaceful patriot, okay? I'm a former Marine. But Thomas Jefferson said it best when he said, you know, republics are like manure. They have to be refreshed from time to time by the blood of patriots and tyrants. And I'm not advocating violence by any means, although I think everybody, especially in light of what's gone on in the last 8 months to a year, if they haven't exercised their Second Amendment and learned how to fire a firearm, whether that be a rifle or a handgun, there's great classes out there. They need to do that because it's really like holding the Holy Bible or exercising your spiritual preference in this country. It's a God-given right that you have under the Constitution, and you need to use it, do it, know how to access weapons, know how to fire them. It's something you should just naturally do to protect your family. But what I would say is we just all have to pray to our God that he wins. Either way, I mean, I really think there's so much division because of the fear-based propaganda and the narrative of entitlement that's been created the last, well, really 20 years, but especially the last 10, that honestly, I think we're really headed towards, I mean, honestly, a civil war. I really do. I just don't see any way that we get out of this. Trump has to get to 270 because if it comes down to Pennsylvania and he doesn't get to 270 tomorrow night, we're in trouble. And my fear is, and I would never advocate rioting. I hope we don't loot businesses, but I hope you see crowds like you saw in Europe a couple of months back, where there were millions of people, 3 million, 4 million in these streets for people standing up for their kids and the future of this country. Because like you said, they're not just going to take your hand, they're going to take your whole freaking arm.
Yeah, I would just say this on behalf of conservatives, Christians, Republicans, libertarians, anybody, Democrats now are switching over and saying that they're going to vote for Trump because they're fed up with all of the criminality and corruption of the Biden crime family, but the Democrats in general. There will be no rioting if the peaceful people we've seen at these Trump rallies are marching in the streets. They stand for businesses. They're the ones that would be first in line to protect those businesses that Antifa and BLM loot. So I just want to say that. Absolutely no violence. We want to take our country back peacefully. And I think that's why this president is so loved, because he really speaks off the cuff, and what he says resonates with most clear-thinking people from all walks of life. So let me ask you this. You just finished the 5-city, 5-state tour. Describe it. What did you see? What kind of people showed up?
Oh, man, I get choked up thinking about it, Sean. Literally after each event, we would have people coming over, hugging us and putting their head over our shoulder and just saying, Dr. Cordie, Chris Lippy, who's the co-founder of 1776, my best friend, they'd say, Chris, Cordie, thank God that you did this. I was about to commit suicide. I just lost my husband, who committed suicide, and he was an Army vet. And they would go on with these stories, Sean, and you hear them, and your heart cries out for them. Because, just in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut alone, 170 people die every day because they're taking their own life because of this COVID lockdown. And then you have a sleepy, creepy Uncle Joe that wants to shut it down even longer. And I wasn't advocating violence a second ago. I hope I didn't insinuate that. But no, I agree with you. People taking to the streets and getting to the streets, if this does go the other way, and I pray to God, man, I just innately feel like he's going to win it. He's going to get to 270 tomorrow night, and we're not even going to have to worry about this. I pray to God that happens, because if not, those patriots, those 1776ers, are going to have to rise up and stand up peacefully for their freedoms, because if not, the soul of this country is going to go down the toilet.
Yeah, I know. I know we all feel it. I mean, but how does one look at the rallies that we've been seeing? You know, President Trump is doing 4 or 5 of them a day now. His pace is amazing, and when you
Guy's a stud.
compare and contrast him to Joe Biden, it's just unbelievable that the media could possibly make the argument that he's leading in the polls. It doesn't pass the smell test. So, I mean, again, tell me what kind of people, what colors were the people, what age groups were the people that were showing up,
Yeah.
how many people were showing up for your events on behalf of Trump?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate we even have to have the conversation about gender or political affiliation or what color your skin is, right? But that's where we are as a society. But, we had anywhere from 1,500 to 3,500. Our biggest rally was 10,000 that we did in mid-May. That was before we launched the national tour. But 1,500 to 3,500. And literally, like in DC, for example, 80% African American, 80%. And what did the fake news try to do? Trolls came out and fake news media came out, and what did they try to say? That they were paid actors. I mean, you really can't make this stuff up. But we've had tons of Hispanics. I mean, and you and I, we just see them, and our viewers out there, we see them as red, white, and blue patriots. We don't even care what color their skin is. They're brothers and sisters, right? But you would see these people out in droves, like thousands of them, and all the constant narrative you hear is, I want to protect my kids. I want them to know what freedom's like. I want them to know what the actual country that I grew up in is really like. Because give it 10 years of some of the stuff that's gone on in the last 6 months. And there's a lot of people in the next generation that won't even really remember what America used to be if this goes the other way.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. I'm a direct victim of the people that are backing Biden. Media Matters, David Brock, Soros-funded Media Matters for America, I should add. A hit piece was done about me in the Q movement, and Patreon took me down. This was a week after a hit piece was done on many of us by Media Matters, and then YouTube took us down. How do you feel about the attack on free speech by big tech, and do you have any thoughts on what we could do to rein them back in under Section 230? Any thoughts at all about this? I know it's on the president's radar.
Well, if I have a chance to talk to the president at any point, God willing, besides telling him he's a stud and that I've never had a bromance, before in my life, but it's certainly with him. Besides telling him that, the next thing I'm going to tell him is going to be exactly that. I think the biggest threat to our country, in addition to China, is free speech. And, I'm wondering why we can't do, I was talking about this over lunch with some friends. I don't know why this isn't an antitrust thing at this point. Like some of the things that have happened in, if you look at cable news networks and Comcast, why from a federal standpoint, that hasn't been done yet. But can we seek some type of antitrust retribution for what's been going on? Because this is a clear violation of Article 1, right? The First Amendment, excuse me. It's a clear violation of the First Amendment. And these are rights that we have. So for somebody to create a monopoly where they control the narrative and they already control mainstream media, and now we're saying, hey, if we don't like you, and that's the other baffling thing about this election, the fact that we're even talking about that it might be close. That really shows how far down the road, like down the hill, down the toilet, our society's gone, right? Because the fact that we're even talking about, I'll just censor you, Sean, because you have a different voice that isn't my voice. You have a different viewpoint that's inconsistent with mine. I'm just going to silence you. You don't matter anymore. And everybody's going to back up that position, and 50% of the American people are going to back that up. Well, in 15 years, if you have a different narrative or a different ideology that you want to espouse in the United States, what happens when somebody defecates on that idea? That's really where we're headed. We're headed back to Nazi Germany. And I think that's the frightening thing for me. So I think the only thing we can do is, from a congressional standpoint, all the swamp creatures out there on both sides of the aisle need to quit eating Oreo cookies and watching old Netflix reruns and really get in the game and start throwing some dimes downfield. And what those dimes look like is we need some bills passed around antitrust retribution where, guys like you should be compensated. I mean, because there's a lot of people that that was some of their livelihood, going into some of these networks or channels. But these are Americans and patriots like you, Sean, right? I'll brown nose for a second because I love your mission, right? that you are doing for so many patriots like me that watch you, right? And to take all that away and say, you know what, we're just going to take 13 or 15 different organizations, we're going to unplug them, and then there's people you're not even hearing about. Lexit and some of the people with Lexit have been shadow banned, censored, accounts erased. There's a Republican friend of mine that's gay Republican. I forget what his hashtag is. Bunch of followers. I saw him the other day in Beverly Hills. They wiped his Facebook and his 2 Instagrams. And yet these are the accepting hippie people that love everybody and want us to put lighters up and sing, Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder. Everybody's getting censored if you don't agree with their narrative, apparently.
Yeah, no, it's just a gigantic double standard. And, I appreciate you saying the nice things about those of us that have been deplatformed because, we were winning the battle for the hearts and minds on the world's largest town square, YouTube, and then YouTube changed their rules to try to filter us out and to reduce our view counts when they changed their algorithms. And when that didn't work, and it had an effect, but when it didn't silence us or get us to go away, then they changed their terms of service and just deplatformed us without warning, without cause. Channels in good standing, no strikes. It's just disgusting. And then Patreon did the exact same thing at the behest of Media Matters for America. So it's a big, giant conspiratorial club, and I agree with you. Under RICO statutes, these companies should be gone after by the Department of Justice. But let's just wrap this up with talking about the good news.
Can I say one more thing real quick, Sean?
Sure, please.
To me, brother, this is like the book burnings that went on in World War II that the Nazis did.
Yeah.
Where they took all the Jews, they got all the books, and they tried to kill a narrative that was different than theirs. And the fact that people can't see through that, I think that's one of the most frightening things. Like, regardless of whether you agree with my viewpoint or your viewpoint, Sean, the fact that people aren't rising up to say, hey, I don't agree with these guys. I don't espouse to their ideology, but this is wrong. Have we gone backwards that much from like what's morally and ethically right and sound? And if we have, oh my God, I'm fearful for all of us.
What comes to mind when I hear you say that is, yeah, we are that far gone, at least in terms of trying to bring those who stand against us back up to some sort of moral level playing field where we can all agree on some fundamental things like a baby in the womb has rights. It's not just a clump of cells. Abortion on demand in the 9th month is morally reprehensible. They cheer for it. They want open borders. They want illegals to vote in the election. They will do anything to tip the scales in their favor, and it will be a slippery slope into absolute despotism and Marxism because the left is now populated by openly Marxist people. It is just so nuts. I feel like we live in the twilight zone. And Cordie, I guess I don't know what we're going to do about it if President Trump is somehow defeated. But look, the good news is people are waking up in droves. Look at the size of the rallies. Look at the work you're doing. The people are showing up and they're excited. They're genuinely excited about this man who wrote, with your vote, we will continue to cut your taxes and regulations, support our police, support our military, protect your Second Amendment, defend religious liberty, and ensure more products are proudly stamped made in the USA. Next year will be the greatest economic year in the history of our country. And Cordie, that's all true only if Biden is defeated.
Yeah. And that's why tonight, whatever your spiritual faith is, if your deal is to go to the ocean and meditate, or whether it's to get down on your knees and pray to Jesus, I mean, that's literally what needs to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. Because I don't know where this is going to go, Sean, if it does go the other way. But I agree with you. I don't think how just looking at all the metrics of data out there, whether it's the 2 polling groups that are actually honest, the voter turnout, and the fact, why would anybody vote for a guy that can't remember where he is, can't even probably puts his underwear on backwards like my 4-year-old does, and generally looks like a dead corpse walking. most of the time, and has 4 people at each rally and talks about the dark winter. Why you would want to vote for that versus the guy that's delivered? I mean, I'm a 40-year-old man. This is the first president in 40 years that I've been on this planet that said something, promised something, and delivered on the promise. And I think you could drop the mic right there. I mean, that's what you would want in a president, theoretically.
Right. Yeah, and juxtaposed to that is the guy that yells at his rallies. All he does is shouts and he yells and he talks about mandatory masks nationwide. I mean, you're right. Who in their right mind would vote for him? But I saw a tweet today from a famous YouTuber, Casey Neistat, promoting some pro-Democrat video. And I replied to him, I said, Casey, grow up. Does it not bother you that Joe Biden is the head of a crime family? And then I linked to a Gateway Pundit article providing the proof of what I just declared to be true. It's unbelievable. We are going to have a mafia don as president if that guy somehow steals this thing. And the mainstream media will cheer. It'll just be, oh boy. Cordie, I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. Where are you going to be watching the election coverage, and what's your plan for Tuesday?
Well, I will be at Mar-a-Lago at a private event with a bunch of patriots that I'm just blessed and honored to be with. It's going to be awesome. Be with my good friend Karen Turk and a host of others. And yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm excited about tomorrow too. And I think that in a day or two after Tuesday, we're all going to be celebrating, because I do think God's on our side. The Great Awakening is real. Again, look no further than these rallies. James Woods is right. We've never seen anything like this before, and I think it's historic. What's happening is definitely historic. And thanks for all that you've done, Cordie, to move the needle back in the direction of liberty.
Well, absolutely, Sean. I'm trying to be following your footsteps, my friend. God bless you, and thanks for everything you've done.
All right. Well, thanks. That's very kind. I appreciate you very much. Do you want to shout out any of the websites or anything?
Yeah, I would love to. So we are a community-based organization. We're filing for nonprofit status right now, just so everybody knows kind of what we're up to. We're launching 501c3, C4. Then we're going to move into another arm that is a political action committee. The goal going forward, guys, it's real simple for my organization. We're going to do rallies. I just had a conference call with some people that are going to fund the rallies we're going to do all over the United States. It's going to be big. It's going to be huge. Writing a book, 1776 Forever Free, Divided to United, A Patriot's Journey, where we're going to talk about the attributes of the Founding Fathers, what we saw when we were on the tour that exemplifies those 7 attributes. And then we're going to have 6 solutions. So really just going on. And then our goal, to be real honest, Sean, is we're going to back candidates. People that are entrepreneurs have what I call the Trump syndrome, which are people that are entrepreneurs that want to change America. They're not professional politicians, because you've had enough of that. You've had enough of guys, I look nice in a suit. I think I'm a handsome guy. I can talk, right? But the difference is I'm not a career politician. And we need people that know how to communicate, have ran a business, and run this country like a business. And they run it from their heart because they actually care about their kids, other people's kids, and where the country goes. You can go to 1776foreverfree.com. You can contribute. $5 a month goes a long ways for an organization like ours. We've got tons of merch on there. Self-funded thing right now, seeking out other funding as well. But we need people to join the mission, because the way we move the needle, guys, is for you guys to watch, like, share Sean's show as much as you can. He's been doing so much. Keep plugging that. Try to do what you can on 1776foreverfree.com, and let's do this together, because it's about our kids' future.
Yeah, absolutely. I just talked to somebody who reached out to me, I guess an internet friend you might say, the other day, and I encouraged him to just get active locally, run for Congress. It's amazing. We've got people who are Marxists who immigrated to this country, and they run for Congress and they get in, and meanwhile, patriots sit idly by and never run for office. So we all need to
Sean, look at, I just want to interject for a second. Yeah. Look at AOC. People were doing shots off her chest at one point, and now she's in Congress. So if AOC can get in, Sally down the street that is making sack lunches right now, I'm voting Sally.
100%. Yeah, and actually the person I had in mind was Ilhan Omar, and it's just unbelievable. It really is. We live in the twilight zone, but we're not going to give another inch to Marxists and to traitors. Our guest has been Dr. Cordie Williams, founder of 1776 Forever Free. Thank you so much, Cordie.
Thank you so much, Sean. God bless you, and Semper Fi.
Yeah, Semper Fi, and God bless the United States and our president. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We very, very much appreciate you guys. I'll remind you that for real news 24/7, you can visit us directly at sgtreport.com. That's the antidote to corporate propaganda and Mockingbird mainstream media lies. And a special thank you to our members over at sgtreport.tv. You are our last line in the sand, our last defense, since Patreon and YouTube and the big tech giants all colluded to try to destroy us economically. God bless you guys. We love you. Bye-bye.